Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9. And today we're doing Text 3. Nata param paramayad bhavata swarupam anandamatram avikalpam avidhavarcha pashyami vishwasujamekam avishwamatman bhutendriyatmakamadasta upashritosmi. Nata param paramayad bhavata swarupam Anandamatram avikalpam avidavarcha pashyami vishwasrijamekam avishwamatman bhutendriyatmakam adasta upashritosmi. Natak param paramayad bhavata swarupam Anandamatram avikalpam avidavarcha Pashyami visasijamekam avishwamatman bhutendriyatmakam adasta upashritosmi. Everyone can chant, please.
Nata param paramayad bhavata swarupam anandamatram avikalpam vidhavarcha pashyami vishwasrijamekam vishwamatman bhutendriyatmakamadas
नातः परं परमयद्भवतः स्वरूपम् आनन्दमात्रमविकल्पमविद्धवर्च पश्यामि विश्वसृजमेकमविश्वमात्मन् भूतेन्द्रियात्मकमदस्तौपाश्रितोऽस्मि.
Hare Krishna. Nata param paramaya dhavataha sarupam anandamatram avikalpam abiddavarcha pashyami vishwasrijam ekam abhisham atman bhutendriyatmaka madasta upasrito asmi. Hare Krishna.
Nata param paramayad bhavata swarupam Anandamatram avikalpam aviddhavyacha Pashyami visasrujam ekam avisamatman Bhutendriyatmakamadasta upasritosmi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nata param paramayad bhavata swarupam anandamatram avikalpa aviddhavarchaha pashyami vishvasrijam ekam avishvam atman bhutendriyatmakamadasta upashito asmi. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
नातः परं परमयद्भवतः स्वरूपम् आनन्दमात्रमविकल्पमविद्धवर्च पश्यामि विश्वसृजमेकम् अविश्वमात्मन् भूतेन्द्रियात्मकमदस्त उपाश्रितोऽस्मि.
Anyone else? Okay, word for word translation. Na, do not. Atak param, hereafter. Parama, O supreme. Yat, that which. Bhavata, of your lordship. Swarupam, eternal form. Anandamatram, impersonal, Brahman, effulgence. Avikalpam, without changes. avidhavarcha, without deterioration of potency. Pashyami, do I see. Visvasrijam, the creator of the cosmic manifestation. Ekam, one without a second. Avishwam, and yet not of matter. Atman, O supreme cause. Bhuta, body. Indriya, senses. Atmaka, on such identification. Mada, pride. Te, unto you. Upashrittaha, surrendered. Asmi, I am. Translation. O my Lord, I do not see a form superior to your present form of eternal bliss and knowledge. In your impersonal Brahman effulgence in the spiritual sky, there is no occasional change and no deterioration of internal potency. I surrender unto you because whereas I am proud of my material body and senses, your lordship is the cause of the cosmic manifestation, and yet you are untouched by matter. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 55, Bhaktyamama bijanati yavanyas-chasmi tattvataha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead can only be partially known, and only by the process of devotional service to the Lord. Lord Brahma became aware that the Supreme Lord Krishna has many, many eternal blissful forms of knowledge. He has described such expansions of the Supreme Lord Govinda in his Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, text 33, as follows. Advaitam achyutam anadim anantarupam adyam purana purusham navayovanam cha vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhakto govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is non-dual and infallible. He is the original cause of all causes, even though he expands in many, many forms. Although he is the oldest personality, he is ever youthful, unaffected by old age. The Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be known by the academic wisdom of the Vedas. One has to approach the devotee of the Lord to understand him. The only way to understand the Lord as he is by devotional service to the Lord, or by approaching the devotee of the Lord, who always has the Lord in his heart. By devotional perfection, one can understand that the impersonal Brahma Jyoti is only a partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, and that the three Purusha expansions in the material creation are his plenary portions. In the spiritual sky of the Brahma Jyoti, there is no change of various kalpas or millenniums, and there are no creative activities in the Vaikuntha worlds. The influence of time is conspicuous by its absence. The rays of the transcendental body of the Lord, the unlimited Brahma Jyoti, are undeterred by the influence of material energy. In the material world also, the initial creator is the Lord himself. He brings about the creation of Brahma, who becomes the subsequent creator, empowered by the Lord. Nata param paramayad bhavata swarupam anandamatram avikalpam avidavarcha pashyami visvasrijamekam avishwamatman bhutendriyatmakam adasta upashritosmi. O my Lord, I do not see a form superior to your present form of eternal bliss and knowledge. In your impersonal Brahman effulgence in the spiritual sky, there is no occasional change and no deterioration of internal potency. I surrender unto you, because whereas I am proud of my material body and senses, your lordship is the cause of the cosmic manifestation, and yet you are untouched by matter. So, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachayane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschita Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Vishnu Gada Prabhu. I guess you must have been back from India for a while, but this is my first time seeing you. So virtually seeing you. So it's great to have you here again, Hare Krishna. And continuing these wonderful instructions and discussions between Maitreya and Vidura. I've discussed before how much I really like their relationship and the questions. And now we're seeing the conversation within a conversation, or the prayer within a conversation, after describing all about creation and sarga and visarga. If we remember back to the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, the first two are sarga and visarga, the original creation of the material elements, which we've discussed extensively over the weeks and months, and visarga, which is what Prabhupada calls in today's purport the subsequent creation by Lord Brahma, where he takes those ingredients and forms them into everything, the species and the structures and everything around us is the subsequent creation. So it's a wonderful description. I like that Brahma is saying these prayers in his Brahma Samhita meter. I don't know if there's any particular significance to that. Except I love that meter. It's very beautiful and melodic and sweet. And we, chant it every morning in front of the deities also. And maybe Prabhupada thought of that also because he also chanted, I'm speculating here, but he also referenced Brahma Samhita to support these conclusions that Lord Brahma is stating here. So it's a very nice, great section of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it starts off, Natak param paramayad bhavata swarupam. Na atak param, we know atak param means hereafter or thereafter. It's like kind of a conjunction or introductory thing there. Atak param means therefore or hereafter. And na atak param means hereafter not. Just like atak param. Actually, this phrase is used a lot in the Bhagavatam in the scriptures. Natvevaham natu jatam, natvam neme janadipa, nachayvana bhavishyama sarvavayam atak param. Atak param there means same thing hereafter, that I'm eternal, you're eternal, and hereafter, all of us and all of these kings, they're also eternal hereafter. So, but not tak param means hereafter not. So what's this negative? Parama. We will not find anyone parama, as great as you, as high as you, as elevated or as supreme as you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Natak param paramayad bhavata, as yourself. And yourself in what kind of manifestation or what kind of existence? Swarupam, in his original spiritual form. So Krishna in his Brahma is saying Krishna in his original spiritual form is the highest thing. He later on says, Pashyami, see, we will not see a greater thing, a higher thing, a more elevated existence than you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in your Swarupam, in your eternal, personal, spiritual form. So, and because Brahman is also mentioned in this verse, in order to illustrate qualitatively this nature of spirit. The verse describes how there's no contamination of matter to the Brahmajyoti. But the thing that is highest and above all, and we will not find anything higher, we will not see anything higher, is Krishna's form. Prabhupada would say that Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the last word in God realization. And I always liked when Prabhupada used this because it has a little bit of a dual meaning. It's when we say this is the last word in something, we mean it's the final, the authoritative, and the conclusive statement. But he also says this referring to Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdyate. In that sense also, literally of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the last word in those three. So it's a nice, clever word usage by Srila Prabhupada, that Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the last word in any kind of spiritual realization. Prabhupada says elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, what's that? The appearance of the Lord puts an end to all the imaginative iconography of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we have the Supreme Personality of Godhead before us, within our vision, that is the highest manifestation. That is the perfect and purest manifestation of any kind of spiritual realization. Or elsewhere, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Krishna also explains in Bhagavad Gita. Pratishta means the foundation, the shelter, or even it means pedestal. So Krishna is the foundation upon which Brahman and Paramatma, and what to speak of the material energy, all of this is resting upon the foundation of Krishna. Therefore, again, going back to the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th item, Ashraya, means this, that he's the shelter of everything, including Brahman, including Paramatma, including the material energy, and including us. Actually, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary on Brahmano hi pratishtaham, he explains that Brahmano means not just the impersonal Brahmajyoti, but it also refers to the jivas, who are also Brahman by nature. And at the conclusion, Brahmano hi pratishtaham means that the living entities absolutely have to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the conclusion. Personal is above impersonal. Prabhupada would explain it in so many ways. He says that matter has no incentive. Dull matter is just that, it's dull, but it acts, it moves, it undergoes transformations when it's acted upon by the living being. And even in ordinary circumstances, we always value the personal more than the impersonal, or at least the sane person does. Prabhupada described just like the car and the driver. The car may have some value, but if there's no one driving it, it's just a lump of metal, and metal, petrol, and oil, and whatever. It's useless. It has value when there's an intelligent living being, a person, who is driving it and directing it. And this is further explained. I found this nice reference from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, explaining in his book Jaiva Dharma. He says, when the Paratattva, the Supreme Absolute Truth, is asserted as exclusively impersonal, rasa necessarily has to be excluded from his nature along with his personality. Vedic truths, such as the statement in the Chandogya Upanishad, rasa vaisa, that Supreme Absolute Truth is the personification of all rasa, then becomes meaningless and denied. The impersonal aspect of the Supreme is insipid, lacking in luster and spiritual bliss. However, as Krishna's personal feature unfolds before his devotee, rasa is increasingly manifest, because rasa is the principal aspect of the paratattva. Higher than the impersonal aspect of the paratattva is the personal aspect of the supreme absolute being. So this is a nice assertion that personality is supreme, something we all know naturally and intuitively. We know that we value personality above dull matter, except for the very grossest type of people will turn that upside down. But a sane person, a feeling person, values personality and relationship over dull matter. And everyone does. Even the Mayavadis, who, with their talk of Brahman and impersonal this or that, they also seek out, Prabhupada talked about like this Gadadhar Chatterjee, known falsely as Ramakrishna, and his followers. He said, he's claiming it's all one, impersonal, but they also come down to the mundane platform of mundane welfare work. And actually, to be perfectly honest, usually they fall down to grosser forms of material relationships. But that tendency is there, and it's natural. And because natak param paramayad bhavata swarupam, the swarup, the person who is the highest, who you'll not find anyone higher, that's where your tendency for relationship has to be, has to reside, or has to become deposited within that relationship. So then the verse goes on. Let's see. Ananda matram avikalpam avidavarcha. That's the second line. That this Ananda matra means this blissful Brahma Jyoti. Now, generally speaking, the Brahma Jyoti, we've heard Prabhupada discuss how Brahma Jyoti actually embodies the Sat feature, the eternal existence feature of Satchidananda. And Paramatma embodies Sat and Chit, consciousness, awareness, knowledge. But only in Bhagavatam are all three, Satchit, Ananda, fully manifest. But still, in a sense, Brahman is blissful. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, the stage of Brahman realization, is blissful because the material suffering has been negated. So in a sort of negative, via negativa, or a negative definition sense, this is also blissful. There's no tinge of material suffering in it. And he describes that there's no changing, there's no breaking or piercing. This word avidavarcha literally means to become pierced. There's no piercing or contamination or break in that pure spiritual nature, uncontaminated spiritual nature of the Brahma Jyoti or of Krishna himself, for that matter. Avida means unpierced or uncut or unwounded, just like a nose in Sanskrit. A nose that is not pierced is called avidhanasa, an unpierced nose, just like when Krishna went to the Swayamvara of King Nagnajit, and he was offering his daughter Satya in marriage. And he was very happy to offer his daughter Satya in marriage to Krishna, because he himself was a great devotee and understood Krishna. But he said, but it's a Swayamvara, so there's a task you have to accomplish first. And the task was taming these 7 very wild and fierce bulls. And those bulls are also described as avidhanasa, because when bulls are domesticated for plowing or for keeping on the farm, or you need to control them, because bulls can get very violent and wild and aggressive. So they're controlled how? Their nostril is pierced, and a ring or a chain or a rope is passed through that hole. But these bulls, by calling them avidhanasha, their noses were unpierced. That means that they're untamed, unbroken. So anyway, avidavarcha means that there's no contamination, there's no infringement on the purity of the spiritual nature. So Krishna's potencies can never be cut or pierced or infringed upon or contaminated or controlled, for that matter, by the individual living entities in any way. This is, again, the nature of Krishna's energy. And understanding this, the nature of Krishna's energy, understanding this or misunderstanding this is really the fundamental understanding and the fundamental flaw in the understanding of the impersonalists, those who don't accept Yadbhavata Swarupam, who don't accept Krishna's eternal, blissful, spiritual form as the greatest thing that there is. I remember it's going back at least a couple of years now. His Grace Vishnu Gadaprabhu gave a Sunday feast lecture where he discussed this Vivartavad and Parinamvad. And this is actually the fundamental philosophical mistake of the impersonalists. Vivarta means transformation. So Vivartavad means they say, oh, there's nothing but Brahman, but the Brahman becomes transformed. And in that transformation, it creates illusion and Maya and the material energy. And the Brahman is in illusion, falsely thinking it's an individual living being. So this is why we call them Mayavadis, because the Mayavad means the doctrine of Maya. By their misunderstanding, they're actually inadvertently putting illusion above Brahman. That illusion is more powerful than Brahman. That illusion has the power to cover Brahman. This is their fundamental mistake. And the proper philosophy of Vyasadeva is Parinamvad. Now, Vivarta means transformation. Parinam also means transformation, but in a different way. It's the transformation of the energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself undergoes no transformation in the sense that his nature is perfect and impeccable and unchanging. Avidhavarcha, this is his nature. But through his energies, everything is manifest and changing and going through activities and relationships and give and take and exchange in the creation of the material world and the maintenance and the winding up and destruction of the material world. All of this is done through the transformation of Krishna's energies. And this simple understanding, Parinamvad as opposed to Vivartavad, means that Krishna is able to do everything and manifest everything and be in control of everything and interact with everything. Yet at the same time, his transcendental nature is never compromised. This is the perfection of Parinamvad, which is specifically the philosophy of Vyasadeva. And the perfection of Parinamvad is explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Achinta Beda Beda Tattva, that Krishna and his energies are simultaneously one and different, And this is there in the Bhagavatam. Even if the words Achinta Beda Beda are not explicitly used, that philosophy is there. Earlier in the Bhagavatam, Narada Muni says, Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavani Vetaro, that this universe is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, and it's also different. It's also not the personality of Godhead himself. So this is understanding of Krishna and his energies, that they're one with, and they're also distinct. Prabhupada would quote the philosophical saying that Shakti Matayor Abeda, that there's no difference between the energy and the energetic source. We distinguish between the energy and the energetic source. The sun is up in the sky 93 million miles away, and its energy, the sunlight, is also coming in through our window. And even in ordinary parlance, we say, oh, open the window and let the sun in. But the sun itself is not coming, and the sun's energy, which is in one sense non-different from the sun, and yet it's not exactly the sun. So this is a mundane example. And Bhagavad Gita also explains Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadav yaktamurtina matstani sarvabhutani nachaham teshravasitam, explaining that he's within this material world, but he's also separate from it. So this is the perfect understanding that's being alluded to in this verse, that Krishna is Swarup, and he's the source of everything, including the material creation, which is the main topic that Vidura and Maitreya have been discussing. And yet he's completely detached, completely uncontaminated by his dealings with that. Let's see now. Also understanding Krishna and his energies, as a verse that Prabhupada would quote very often from Sweta Satar Upanishad. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. That not, again, na means not. Natasya karyam. Krishna has no karma. He has no work. He has no duty that he has to perform that is imposed on him by others, by Shastra, by circumstances. Natasya karyam, he has nothing to do. Karanam cha vidyate, yet he is the cause of all other actions and all other work in the world. He himself has no restrictions or no compulsion to work or do everything, but he's still doing everything. He's still the cause of everything in creation. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. Nat tat samas cha vyadikashya drishyate. Just like Brahma is saying in today's first line of this verse, that you won't find anything higher than the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his original form. Similarly, natat samas cha vyadikashya tishite. Again, na means not. Samas means the same or equal. You won't find anyone equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And you also won't find anyone superior to him. That's the same thing, that he's param. Nata param parama. You won't find anyone higher than him. No one equal to him, no one higher than him. And that's specifically the next line. Pashyami visvasrijam ekam avishwamatman. That pashyami, see, when I see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what do I see? I see he's visvasrijam. He's the creator, the manifester of the entire material creation. Now, Brahma, he's apparently the creator. We say that Lord Brahma creates, but he understands that actually Krishna is Visvasrijam, the actual manifester of the entire creation, the entire universe. He's just the sub-engineer. So he understands. He's Visvasrijam. He's Ekam. He's one. He's unitary, the single being. And Avishwam Atman. Although he's Visvasrijam, he's Avishwam. He has nothing to do with this material creation. And Atman, and he's the supreme soul of everything. So this is very nice. And he's Ekam. Krishna is one. The Upanishads make much of this, that Eka Brahma Dvitiya Nasti, that Eka Brahma, Brahman is one, Dvitiya Nasti, and there's no second. So this also has, at first, going back to the Parinamvad and Vivartavad, Parinamvad allows, or philosophically, it allows Krishna to be one, while at the same time being the creator and maintainer and source of all of the varieties that are not one, that are multiple. So Parinamvad allows that. Vivartavad confuses the entire issue. So Krishna is one. what's that? Eka Brahma Dvitiya Nasti, that he's one and there's no two. Dvitiya means two. So he's one and there's no two. That means that also can be understood in more than one way. He, just like in English, we say one without a second. That means someone is so great that he's the first, and even though there are others, they're inconsequential. Like if someone ran, I don't know how fast they run the mile now, what, like three minutes a mile or something? I don't know what it is. But if someone ran the mile in like 1 minute, then you would say they're one without a second, even though there is a second person, but it's so far behind that sort of colloquially, we say one without a second. So there's so many living beings, but Krishna is so far ahead, so far above all of them that there's no competition. The second place is so remote as to be inconsequential. So that's one meaning of Eka Brahma Dvitiya Nasti. And another meaning is that literally, Krishna is one. He is the only existence, is Krishna. Krishna is the only thing that exists, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But by the understanding, again, of Parinamvad and Shakti Mateor Abeda, that Krishna can maintain that position, and at the same time, there's Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta, Kshetra Gyatya Tatak Para, Avidya Karma Samyamya, Chitir Shaktir Ishite. He has all of his energies, including the spiritual energies in the spiritual world, by which the spiritual world is maintained, and he relates with all his devotees. He's engaging in relationships with others, because all those others are also his energy. And Kshetra Gyakya Tatak Para, and all the living entities, liberated and conditioned, are also nothing but Krishna. We are nothing but Krishna's energies. That's what it means when we say part and parcel, where a part means we're part of Krishna's energies. Kshetra Gyakya, Krishna is the knower of all the fields, and we're the knower of the individual field of our body. So we're part of Krishna's nature, but we're also parcel. We also have a distinct identity simultaneously. And the material energy, avidya karma samyamya, consisting of ignorance and illusion and fruitive activities, which Krishna has himself nothing to do with, but through his energies, all of that is going on. So this is the difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Avidavarcha, who is completely uncontaminated, who is Param, who is above anyone and everyone else, and you won't see a person greater than him or equal to him or anywhere near to him. So this is the difference. And then Brahma actually asks the question, or implies the question. So what's the difference between him, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and me, myself, Lord Brahma? Or we could put ourselves in that situation and ourselves ask the question, what's the difference between us and Krishna? And that's the next line of the verse. Bhutendriyatmaka madas ta upashritosmi. That, what's the difference? Me, Bhutendriyatmaka madas. Madas, I am mad. I am intoxicated. I am sunk in illusion. Why? Bhutendriyatmaka. I'm thinking that this material body, this material senses, this material mind, body, and intelligence, I'm thinking this is me, and this is my source of enjoyment, my source of meaning, my source of identity. And madas, that means I am mad. Just as mad. It used to be the popular trope, like in movies or television shows, that at the lunatic asylum, there would be some person there who would be He would be standing there and he'd have the hat on and he'd have his hand in his jacket and say, I'm Napoleon. So this is madness, that you're thinking you're something you're not, and you're basing your identity on something you're not. And your very conception of yourself is faulty, and therefore you can never be happy. You can never be in a sane state of mind or in a satisfied state of mind if you think you're something you're not. So we're thinking bhutendri atmaka. We're thinking atmaka, that myself, oh, I'm this material body, I'm these senses, and therefore if I want to be happy, I have to manipulate this body, I have to take care of this body, I have to gratify the senses. But because madas, this is madness, this is illusion, because of that, a person can never be satisfied. And Lord Brahma's conclusion to that, because I'm so foolish, and because Krishna is so param, so supreme, so transcendental, so uncontaminated, and so much in control and in relationship with everything in creation, because of that, upashritosmi. Because of that, I must surrender to him, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is Lord Brahma's conclusion after hearing tapa, do austerities, do meditation. And what was the result of it? And he's the most intelligent being, Lord Brahma. He came to this conclusion that this is the nature of Krishna, and upashritosmi, therefore upashrita, I have to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And again, going back to the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, upa ashrita, ashrita, and the 10th topic of Srimad Bhagavatam is ashraya, Krishna, the shelter of everything. And that section says, in order to isolate the transcendent, we discussed this, I think, 2 weeks ago, last time I gave class. In order to isolate the transcendence, all the other 9 topics are discussed in order to isolate the transcendence of Krishna, who is ashraya, who is the shelter of everything. So that's exactly what Lord Brahma is explaining in today's verse. We're hearing so much talk, the whole 3rd canto so far, and much of the 2nd canto before that, so much of this sarga and visarga. And this is what it's for. This is sambandha gyan. When we understand Krishna's nature, interacting with this world, interacting with the living entities, creating, maintaining, janmadhyasya yataha, creating, maintaining, and destroying all of it. The ultimate responsibility for all of that rests on Krishna. Although natasya karyam, he has no work, he's not forced to do it, like a Sudra like myself going into work and punching the clock. No. He has his own reasons for doing that in order to show mercy and give opportunity to all of the living entities. But he's not forced to do it. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. And yet he's still the cause of all of it. Let's see what time it is. Okay, and very briefly, just because Prabhupada brought up this beautiful Brahma Samhita verse, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabhamatma Bhakto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. This is also a very complete verse analyzing the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and covering many of the same points. Advaitam, we discussed how Krishna is Eka Brahma, Dvitiya Nasti. So Advaitam and Dvitiya Na is the same thing. And in this verse, he's Eka, he's one. So these are 2 ways of saying the same thing. You say he's one, or there's no duality, same thing. So Krishna is one, Advaitam, Eka Brahma Dvitiya Nasti. So repeating the same thing, he's one without a second. He's categorically everything. And through his energies, the variety is also manifested Advaitam achyuta. Chuta means to break or to fall or to divide. So achyuta, Krishna is achyuta, he's infallible. He never breaks or he's not divided. And again, going to Parinamvad, he has all of his energies, but he's not divided. They're all his energies and they're all him in one sense. And yet they also have their somewhat, relatively speaking, independent independent existence as we living entities do. We're nothing but Krishna in the sense of being exactly Krishna's energy. We're Satchidananda qualitatively as much as Krishna is, but quantitatively, our Satchidananda and our freedom and our ability to generate energies is relatively minute. So Advaitam Achyutam. Let's see. Anadi. This is also nice. Anadi and Ananta. Again, the prefix a means not, or an means not. Even in English, it's used like that. Anadi means he has no beginning. Ananta means he has no end. This means he's eternal. And just to refresh, like I said earlier, Nattvevaham Jatu Nasam, that Krishna is eternal, we're also eternal, all the kings on the battlefield are eternal. But Krishna is the eternalist of all, because everything else is a manifestation of his energies. He created us. And that means not exactly that Krishna is older or he came first, because just like the sun and the sunshine, there's no meaning of the sun. The sun can't exist without sunshine. And yet at the same time, the sun is the source of the sunshine. So that's like us. Krishna has no beginning. He has no end. And Anadi Ananta Rupam. He has a form. He has a beautiful, the most beautiful, amazing transcendental form, which we also heard Swarupam in today's verse. And not only Ananta Rupam, there's also no end to his forms, just like we heard in Tuesday's class, how this Garbhodaka Ishai Vishnu, specifically to whom Lord Brahma is offering his prayers, he is the source of all the different avatars. So and ultimately, because we also know from Bhagavatam that this Garbhodakashayik Vishnu is also an expansion of Krishna himself. So Krishna is avatari, and all the avatars, all the Ananta Rupam, unlimited forms without end, are all coming from Krishna. Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha. Because he has no beginning, you might think, oh, he's so old. Because he has no beginning. He's so old, and we're all familiar with like the Christian concept of God as an old man with a long white beard. But Krishna is Adyam Purana Purusham. He's the oldest person because he's Anadi. He has no beginning. So he's oldest of all. But Nava Yovanamcha. But he appears as the beautiful fresh youth, Krishna, with his beautiful blackish complexion and his wonderful features and his long curly black hair, like a nest of black crow feathers, very beautiful. And he's standing on the bank of Keshigat with his flute in his hand, standing in the moonlight with his beautiful soft hands, which are as beautiful and soft and delicate as new twigs of a mango tree. And he's standing there shining in the moonlight. And that form, that Navayovanamcha, that youthful form is so beautiful, so attractive, that Srila Rupa Goswami says, my dear friend, if you still want to enjoy material life, just like Brahma said about himself, Bhutendriyatmaka. If you're still Bhutendriyatmaka and you want to remain like that, then don't go and look at the beautiful form of Krishna standing in the moonlight. at Keshigat, playing his flute. Because if you do that, you'll forget all about Bhutenji Atmaka. You'll forget about pleasing your senses, your body, your friends, family, and so-called loved ones. You'll forget all of that. Adyam Purana Pusham Navayovanam Cha. And this I also found interesting in Prabhupada's purport. Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atmabhakto. Krishna cannot be understood merely from academic Vedic knowledge. And then he explains Atma Bhakto, and he says it means he can only be understood by taking shelter of a devotee of Krishna. And then he says in the last paragraph, he says, either by performing devotional service or taking shelter of a devotee of Krishna. So I also like this dual explanation of Atma Bhakto. Vedeshu Durlabam, understanding him just through academic Vedic knowledge is Durlabam, very difficult. But Adurlabam, but very easy, is through Atma Bhakto. Atma Bhakto means me as an Atma becoming a Bhakta and engaging in Bhakti and becoming a devotee of Krishna. That's Atma Bhakto. And Atma Bhakta also means that person, that Atma, that soul, that Jiva, that living entity, who is a Bhakta, you take shelter of him or her. You take shelter of that person. So I like very much this dual meaning of Atma Bhakta. It means we have to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada and qualified devotees of Srila Prabhupada and qualified devotees of Krishna. We need to take shelter of them. That's Atma Bhakto. And it also means we ourselves have to take the process so seriously, so carefully, following the injunctions and the rules and the guidelines that Srila Prabhupada gave us. Then Adurlabam Atma Bhakto. Then the process becomes simple. Then the process becomes easy. And the process of loving Krishna and attaining Krishna becomes quite possible. Prabhupada in one early letter to, I think it was, the name's escaping me now, to former president of India. Anyway, I can't remember his name right now. He wrote a letter to him and he was talking about, yes, I have this magazine, Back to Godhead. He said, you may think me mad for saying that I will go back to Godhead, but it's quite possible for any and all of us to do. So it's quite possible if we're Adurlabam Atma Bhakto, if we take the process very seriously and we accept the guidance of the qualified Bhakta. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everybody, for your very kind attention. If there's any questions or comments or discussion, we can do that now. Yes, Vishnu Gada Prabhu.
Thank you, Acharya, for a very nice class.
Hare Krishna, kind of you.
You were mentioning about, that was discussed, that all the avatars come through or through Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Do you have any inclination or detail about how that exactly works? You know, you have Nrsimha, Varaha, Kurma, Matsya, and when they come on the agency of, how does that work?
Yeah, I don't know the process or the mechanics of it. Just somehow in the line of, you know, there's the descriptions of there's Krishna and Balaram and the Chakravyuha, and then there's this Vishnu, and then there's another Chakravyuha and all that. Somehow in that line of progression, that, you know, this Vishnu on the ocean is the source of the incarnations, but the actual mechanics of it or the process of it or the details of it, I have no idea.
Okay. So, but when they say that the source of the incarnations, that means that they don't have a spiritual planet?
I don't know, except that I've heard, actually I think actually I've heard that they do, just like Lord Ramachandra has a Ayodhya in the spiritual world. But I've also, maybe actually I've heard this, but take it with because I can't quote the source. I've heard that even the avatars, they have a planet, but in the spiritual world, they're present in Vishnu, like the traditional Vaikuntha, not four-armed Vishnu forms, and not in those extraordinary forms manifest in the material world. Have you heard that, or could you confirm that? Because I'm not certain.
There's a letter where Srila Prabhupada says that the animal forms aren't present in the spiritual world.
Okay, so presumably they have some sort of abode in the spiritual world, but present in more traditional Vaikuntha not form. Does that seem okay?
Yeah, yeah. So still, I'm trying to understand how. I don't know either. How
Yeah, the whole
Garba
mechanics
actually,
of it, I have no idea.
how it comes, how they come. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Anything else, question or comment? Oh, and of course, also people misunderstand that and they say, oh, Krishna and Balaram, they also come from Vishnu. And there's a story of the black hair and the white hair and all of this speculation. Because it's also understood, again, like I said, there's Krishna and Balaram and the Chakra Vyuha, that Krishna, any way you look at it, is the origin. And that the other avatars may come through this different channel, but Krishna is always the original. What's the Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsam Krishnas tu Bhagavan Swayam? Any other question or comment? Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for your very kind attention. I hope everyone's doing well up in Philadelphia and
Thank
have
you very
a
much,
wonderful
Prabhu.
day.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Obeisances. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatu.
Sarvesya Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Namo
Namah.
Namah.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.